Good morning, everybody. It's Corey from Unified Masters. So, as you can see, it seems like the notch, the dial has gone up a few tones, steps, and we're starting to get back into the flow, into the creative expression, and coming back into this place of true organic embodiment for the stage and phase of our development that we are currently in, especially as we're closing out a lot of chapters in our lives. And so, once again, good morning. It's going to be another coffee talk with Corey, and we are going to discuss today the Misfit level of awakening. All right, I'm really excited to bring up this topic because, you know, we're at this stage and phase of our development where we've grounded in a lot of beautiful energetics and a lot of beautiful light into Gaia, into this realm, into these densities. And now we're beginning to witness that there are certain ways, mannerisms, levels of embodiment that we no longer have to hold onto, but how can we also cherish and enjoy the gift of ourselves in our true, raw, organic form. And so the discussion of this is going to be the misfit, right? The indigo child, and what it's been like growing up being a starseed, indigo, walk-in, being a systems buster, a disruptor, and basically how we can enjoy the gift and the miracle that is those aspects of us, to see it in its beauty and in its light, because it's important for the roles in loving our human self, because that's where our humanitarian comes from. That's where our humanity comes from, is by loving those human aspects again, to transform them and to alchemize them and to let them become gifts for ourselves. And when we begin to see that within ourselves, we can see that within others, and that's where our humanity comes from, correct? So I want to talk about what it's been like being a misfit, being a starseed, the different levels and ways of having to navigate my life, and also to bring forward just some gifts through this. So, you know, being a misfit, right? Counterculture, fringe dweller, way shower, light raiser. It really depends on how you choose to view the scope of that title. So, the newest word that's come through has been disruptor, and I'm going to put a link in the description box for my beautiful sister, Julie Roberts, Julie Dara. She's got a wonderful article on being a disruptor. And it's a part and play of some coding that we were doing and unraveling. And that's been a lot of my story, has been, and I've talked about this before, and it's like there are some of us on this journey that are dropped into what I would call sticky situations throughout the course of our lives. And it is our job and duty to essentially carve a high vibrational pathway out of that. Now, a part of this is because when we're learning about systems, okay, so when we come into this density, we choose to learn about the 3D systems, when we choose to learn about the matrix. What happens is that, first off, in our DNA, okay, so in our, what I would call the non-coded DNA, or in our soul imprint, or in our soul blueprint, are solutions to a lot of these systems. But to unlock the solution to that blueprint, we have to be dropped sometimes into what many would call the problem. So the problem, once again, in the frame of reference, in the framework, is not that it's happening to us, okay? It's happening for us. So, you know, disregard the old narrative that, hey, you know, this happened to me, and it's this person's fault, and start playing the blame game, okay? That is a looping trap that we can get caught into that disempowers us from really embodying the truth of our essence and the truth of our being as source embodied, as being the starseed, as being the way shower, as being this beautiful being of light that has come here to assist and aid humanity in the global ascension and in restructuring society based upon your soul's origins and based upon the blueprints and the templates that you hold in your physical body template. Okay, so back to this. When we are dropped into these areas, okay, what happens is we begin to witness the problem because we find that there's a solution. Okay, the solution is, so if you resonate with the journey of being a misfit or a disruptor or what I would call an indigo or an indigo revolutionary, this is going to be for you. And so it's not from the spot of war and go get them. Okay, so it's not a let's go get them and we're not getting a lynch mob together and starting to break things down. We saw what occurred with that recently, and that's not the way. Okay, the way is through embodying love, heart-centered expression, heart-centered recognition, but also the fact that we have the solution to build that up. Okay, so there's a difference. If we are going to go through and speak our truth authentically, and we're going to go and use the embodiment of our love, the power of our love, to share what we see and what we witness, okay, it is important. That is a very important stage of the journey. And here we're going off here on another little sideline because evidently it's important. When we are bringing forward that message of truth and clarity, what we're doing is we're beginning to empower ourselves, take our power back, and to not let these things affect us. But we're also beginning to now represent a portion of the collective or of the oversoul in order to speak up regarding these institutions, the things we've seen, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, the path of least resistance that we are on right now with the current ascension pathway. Now, granted, this is going to be different dependent upon the wave of ascension that you are on and also the level of embodiment that you are on. But in the path of least resistance, it's witnessing this and becoming aware that you hold keys and codes to essentially blow open that system. Okay, and we're speaking from an energetic standpoint of view. So what happens is, and this happens for many of us, that we end up, a lot of our life path, a lot of our journey of being the misfit or being the indigo or being the change maker is that we are put into situations and it seems like the world around us just immediately erupts, disrupts, or we end up walking into these systems and being a part of that catalytic change. And so a lot of that kind of, the word coming through is explosive, and so I don't really like that word because of the way that it's encoded, but essentially it's very disruptive. That's a better word. The disruptive way of that level of our creation of walking through the experiment or walking through the experience sometimes can land us in trauma responses, right? Not feeling like we're at home, not being able to find home, not being able to be in a place of safety within our body, a place of safety within ourselves as we are navigating those levels of our own journey, of our own experience, and of the soul pathway to unlock those codes within our DNA, but also to provide the solution. You know, for me, a lot of that journey has been that when I am in the role of a disruptor, okay, and so here's how I'm trying to frame this. When we are a disruptor our whole life, where everywhere we walk into, we're there to facilitate change. When we begin to step out of that phase and step into more what we call the builder or the architect roles and phases, there can be this lingering, and I've noticed this within myself, this lingering feeling that you need to disrupt something within that group or within that cell or within that program that you're currently experiencing in your reality, because you feel like that's going to be the way your whole life is. Well, the thing is that especially stepping into the organic ascension pathway, right? So stepping out of those inorganic realities, where that's what we needed to do. Our job, our role was to come in and to essentially tear that thing down energetically by recoding that experience, by carving that high vibrational pathway and then uploading the solution. Now that we are stepping into the organic trajectories, we're finding that through that transition point from inorganic to organic trajectories, that we no longer have to live that way. So with that is, how do we dissolve the kind of the feeling or the sense that that is what we're still going to be doing in the organic ascension? Well, the thing is that we might actually, we might have a role in recoding certain realities, okay? So while we're navigating organic and inorganic ascension realities based upon the timelines that we hold in our field and based upon the people and the experiences that we are currently undergoing, especially if they are contractual, we might be there to still disrupt the experience at some level, but it's from a space of reshaping or reformatting. Just like in the old way, but it's in a softer definition. So you might hold codes in your energetic spectrum that's going to assist someone in evolving, whether it's a group, a business, whether it's an individual, whether it's a home or a place of land, a piece of land. It's one of those things where, once again, the higher levels and the higher realms are working with us to recode these realities, especially as we are beginning to witness the dismantling of our own internal inorganic structures, and we're starting to access more of the expressive, organic, creative realities. So in the expressive, organic, creative realities, they are very expansive, very soft, very loving, very profound, heightened bliss, heightened knowing, a lot more creative expression, a lot more creative insight, but also very like loving and soft and divine. And we do wobble, you know, depending upon when we land in an organic trajectory, right? And then we access those bliss states. We access that magic. If we still have any inorganic workings or inorganic imaginings, especially with looping program of the mind and fears, we might have to drop down another level to work that out, okay? So that's something that's definitely a part of the transition process that we have to become aware of. As far as fully landing in or what we would call an organic ascension pathway, it can take a while to fully land and to hold that, because at the end of the day, we have to hold our level of consciousness high enough, long enough for our body to hold that organic reality. And there's also a lot of other variables that come into play, such as diet, such as DNA. You know, are we taking in any genetically modified organisms? You know, are we still toxifying our body? Because that's going to affect the physical body's density, and that's going to affect which reality we navigate through our ascension pathway. And so I know we kind of stepped off the topic of the Misfit thing, but this is kind of what happens, is like we step into this organic flow and this insight comes in and we start to just work with the flow of the energetics of how it's occurring. So back to this though, back to being a Misfit, is, can you love your quirky ways that you've had to navigate your ascension pathway? But also, can you begin to let go of the stubborn way and be open to receiving a new way of living your life? So a part of this is that I honor, you know, the fact that I'm a Misfit, and I honor the fact that I have had a very interesting part of my journey that's provided me a lot of solutions. And now that I've landed at this part of really exiting a lot of those inorganic realities, and I'm focusing more on how can I be in that organic expression, now it's like, here come the solutions. And this is through the organic technology. This is through your light body. This is through the light codes that you hold, right? And now that we can begin to access those light codes, for me, it's been getting out a pen and paper. And when the insights come through, making sure that I start to write down all this information, because it will be a solution for someone, but it's also the way that I package and I materialize the energetic structures that I've been embodying for a long time. So a lot of this is that through this walk of remembrance, there's a lot of codes and a lot of energy that has come through. So now how do I materialize that? How do I bring that into matter and into form and into a way that's digestible for people? Because the thing is the information might not totally make sense, but the light codes in the information is what is going to assist in evolving past those limited states and to be able to transcend those levels of awakening that we've gone through, such as the survival level of awakening, such as the, pure fight, flight, freeze, fawn level, which a lot of misfits have had to overcome, especially with having been in the behavioral health field the majority of my life. Is, okay, how do I become heart-centered? How do I not let the mind loop? How do I now begin to engage the mind, the body in a whole new way now that the soul and the spirit is here, now that the light body is here? How can I work with my organic technologies? What can I remove from my life that no longer serves me, such as, scrolling all day? Do I have to limit my social media time? Do I have to limit my contact with friends? How am I in my own energy? What am I ingesting? What can I begin to cut out? Like for me, I love coffee. Coffee for me really does help, especially learning more about who I am and accepting a lot of what has gone on in my life. Stimulants have been really important for me for my awakening. So how can I moderate the amount of coffee that I have and take out things like sugar and use, organic coffees, and make sure that if I'm drinking coffee, because it will mess with my energetics, to a certain level and certain degree, but it's something that I need in really small doses to assist me in being able to get through right now. So a lot of this is then in the reshaping and the reformatting of ourselves, is now in the phase of embodying new, is also, making sure that we are living in an environment that is receptive to our energetics, gives us the room to be able to breathe and to expand, and keeping it nice and clean and tidy for me has been a big one. So a lot of that has been going minimalist, clearing a lot of things out, cleaning a lot more, turning that into a mindful practice. So then I can have more space for my energy to expand. This is where my power, my love comes in. This is where I can really embody my light, but it also gives me ample time to fully integrate as well, right? So a lot of this is going to be ease of use in the reality. Like, how easy is it for me to get what I need to get here? How can I make things less complicated? How can I simplify? How can I simplify my world? In the simplicity is where the mastery comes, especially as we are beginning to navigate, how do we work with the light body? How do we work with our organic technology? How do we work with all of these things that we have existing within us and begin to not rely as much on things like the telephone and social media to provide for us those answers? How can we begin to limit television to not give us the truth that we are trying to embody from within, right? And so a lot of this, changing that dynamic, is where we start to step into the level of the creation and the builder. And this is a lot of that way showing phase outside of the old disruptive way, the discordant way of navigating our ascension, and how do we step into that beauty and that softness and that really the power of the creation. Because in the polarity swing of the creator, we have the destructor, right? And that has been something that has been coming through a lot, is the destroyer, especially as we are at different levels of galactic embodiment, right? And so when we begin to kind of reshape, reformat these different aspects and the different ways, stages, forms of being, there's this powerful, extremely powerful galactic self that I have, but it is a destructor. It is a destroyer. All right. And many people are starting to wake up through this right now, is to recognize that there are aspects of us that we cannot just strip away or not look at, because the experience itself will keep calling it forward to face it so it can ascend with us. These aspects of us, okay, in the process of universal integration and expansion, right? So expansion of the universe, meaning integrated, meaning all parts are going in it. It's an acceptance and allowance of everything to transcend the old structures, but to ascend with us into a higher form, because that is the process of unification. We don't just dissolve or forget one part of ourselves, okay? So in ascending this, a lot of it is now a rehabilitation through self, through retraining, and allowing these destroyer aspects to use this power in creation and to soften the stance of it, to make it more loving, to make it more beautiful, right? A lot of this has been in the, when we speak of the giants, okay, when we speak of the giants, when we speak of the Nephilim, when we start to speak of the god, the Titans, you know, we think of Attack on the Titans, we think of the War of the Gods, you know, anyway, that, a lot of that information I haven't gone into, but it ties into this, is how can we dissolve this need to go out and get them, destructor, destroyer, and begin to activate the beautiful creation with these aspects, okay? So a lot of it is like, can you take that monster within you and love it gently and authentically, and know that that misfit part of you, by learning to love that part of you and not let it take power over you anymore, okay? How can it now be here in a soft, beautiful, ascended state and become a creator again, right? So your experience in itself has unlocked a solution within you, in your soul blueprint, in your soul imprints, in your divine DNA codes, that is going to assist other people through this process. Right? This is where we step into the humanity and the humanitarian, because for us as a collective, and for those of us that have had to go through these roles, we walk through these levels of our journey. We go out down into the depths of madness to find our rainbow bridge out, to build our own rainbow bridge out of that experience. And we hold that bridge open for others to transform and to come through that bridge as well, and into the higher trajectories and into the higher narrative, right? Well, another aspect of this is that that's your solution now. When you see everything that, and this is part of embodying the alchemist, when you see something wrong in this world, and you know, I'm using this word for the sake of reference, but something wrong in this world, and you see that something needs to get done, it's because you hold the solution, right? You hold the solution. Whether it's to go out and you have some extremely high-end, extremely advanced technology to bring forward, or it's as simple as just loving those people that are going through that, or sharing your message of hope. That in itself is a solution, and that's where your humanitarian comes in. So when we begin, you know, in the experience of contrast and polarity, as we're coming back into the embodiment of true love and divine love and sacred love, when we see and witness those things, it breaks us down, it breaks us open, and then we find our caring. We actually begin to care for humanity. And then we come through, and now we start to realize that the solution that I hold is important, because it is a cog in the wheel of the global ascension. It's a part, it plays a role, it is a piece in the orchestration. And so a lot of this then is now, how can we, in a fun, light, enjoyable way, enjoy our misfit today, right? How can we enjoy that part of ourselves? You know, the word that has been coming through in the higher realms is beautiful homie, right? And it's like, it's funny because it's a part of my story, but I wasn't ever involved in those things. And I'm not, if you know me, which a lot of people on here do, I'm not really a street person. But there was a level of my journey where I had to go through that walk, because I started to see something about the justice system. I began to see things about, you know, the prison system, and I got to begin to witness the injustices, right? Because that's what helped me with my own programming, you know, to break out of the behavioral health system, to break out of giving my power away to doctors. And that's what I began to care about people. It helped me to A lot of this was the Buddha phase of awakening, you know, the Buddha level of embodiment where, you know, you leave the castle and you begin to go witness, you know, the struggle, because that's, for me, is what gave me appreciation for life and gave me, and I started to find beauty in a lot of those grim and gory details. But it's also where a lot of courage, a lot of strength, a lot of things like that began to be shown to me in my reality, through finding my angel wings, through becoming a humanitarian when I was out there, by genuinely caring and talking to people, because I held heart codes, right? My heart in itself held codes within it that I needed to share. And as a part of that exchange, I received codings from them as well that began to unlock more levels of my journey that provided me more solutions. And solutions that I'm still working through piecing together over a big, long phase of my journey, about a 3 to 4 year stretch. There's all these codes that are unpacking that are going to be going into different projects and things like that. So I'm in the process of unpacking a lot of that as I'm leaving those inorganic realities now. So how can you celebrate today? You're weird. How can you celebrate your misfit? How can you celebrate that part of you in a healthy way, right? In a healthy way. When we begin to care about those pieces of ourselves, right? Once again, we're going to be able to care about people on that same level of the journey, and that's where we hold the bridge open. That's where the rainbow bridge opens up nice and wide, and we begin to offer people to walk over and to begin to love themselves again, authentically. There's been a lot of punishment that's occurred through self-punishment and punishment of the reality that has been needed for us to begin to embody more self-love and to begin to feel whole again, and to walk as that one true God self, source essence through those experiences, and to recognize that God loves ugly, right? That's been a song that's been coming through a lot, and that word has been so impactful for me in my reality, is God loves ugly, and to recognize that it's because I need to love those ugly parts of me and the ugly parts of my journey, to recognize that that's what I needed to learn. That was my learning. And I'm constantly learning. Every single day I'm learning more and more and more. But there's also a lot of solutions embedded in that I can use to assist other people. So how can I take those solutions that I found through those phases of my journey and upload them today? And what can I do to create and to assist humanity in, continually inspiring and up-leveling those that have been through that phase of their journey as well, right? And so with that, I want to talk about a workshop that I have coming up. It's going to be on Saturday, December, we're outside of time. Saturday, February 27th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be holding a trauma workshop. So basically, we're going to be going through various topics of being a walk-in, being a starseed, being an indigo, being a misfit, being a disruptor, how to overcome our trauma responses, how to begin to engage with the body and the mind and the soul in a new way. And we're also going to discuss various levels of just tips and tricks on, especially if you've gone through behavioral health diagnosis and you've been through the behavioral health system, how can we begin to reframe and relook at who we truly are beyond the diagnosis, beyond what the doctors have told us, but also how can we use these things that are supposed weaknesses to humanity and to many other people. So I wouldn't say to humanity, but to the systems they view as weaknesses. How can we begin to view them as strengths? How can we use the power of the mind for good? But also, how can we begin to practice staying more heart-centered when we are very intellectual, very intelligent, or also extremely sensitive, such as being an empath. And so there's going to be a lot of tools uploaded for this. I'm really excited about this workshop. I've never done a workshop before. I've only done clearings. And so to actually provide information, I'm still unpacking all of this stuff to discuss through the organic technology. And so there will be light codes that'll be shared in it. And there will also just be practical solutions for everyone through all the different topics that I have going on. So this workshop is going to be donation-based. So no set donation. If you want to come in, come in. If you can't afford it, but you need it, please reach out to me. I've been there. I truly believe that these solutions and these ways of being should not have to be, it should be free for everybody. But as a result of me being able to sustain my reality and to be able to use this beautiful tool of money to expand my business and to support my light body and to support myself, I do have to ask for donations. But once again, if you cannot afford it, but you feel like you could use the solutions that are provided in this workshop, please reach out to me, unifiedmasters@gmail.com, and I'd love to have you in. No one will be left out once again. So we will be doing a little bit of energy work. It's going to be mostly light code and mostly information and a little bit of discussion too. So I'll open up the floor to Q&A where we can talk about these various topics and unpack things at different levels. And I'm really excited to bring this workshop out. So once again, February 27th at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, wherever you're at in the world, it will be there. There will be a recording for this, and I will be posting it on my website eventually, soon. So thank you guys once again for continually supporting me. We're just navigating, right? We're navigating. So the space has been made. There's been a lot of beautiful room for expansion, a lot of beautiful room for integration, and to be able to access all of these beautiful technologies that exist within us through the light body, and working with these different codes right now to unpack what they mean for me and how my organic voicing can bring them to the forefront to assist humanity. So I love you all. Much love and respect to everyone out there. If you haven't, please click subscribe, share this. It really does assist me. The grassroots level of sharing content and sharing information with other people is really, it's beautiful for what we are kind of going through with the ascension and a lot of the breaking down of social media right now. And so as those things are being restructured and reformatted, just to simply put a share button out if this resonates with you, or if you feel like it resonates with other people, really does help. Especially as we are learning how to assist one another in whatever way possible, because, you know, by you doing a simple share, it assists humanity and assists other people, and it assists myself, and it provides me an opportunity to reach out more. It's really beautiful the way the geometric sequences work when we begin to work together and to assist others in being able to grow and to expand beyond the old world trajectories and stepping more into that organic way of being. But also too is as we are ascending more and we are gaining more access and insight, there's certain things that we can't do anymore based on the divine laws that are working. And so to ask simply to share or to like it helps me out greatly. Please, you know, I love researching and seeing your guys' comments. So when you send comments out, I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all your love and support for continually being here, for being your beautiful self. I'm going to keep being my beautiful misfit self, but in a new way, right? So stepping out of that destroyer deconstruction phase, and how can I become more of the creator and step more into that presence within myself. See you guys soon.